Hoodie guy coming back here with another one. Are we going to an October bottom? That would match up with the 4-year cycle. Macroeconomic conditions seem like they're heading that direction, but you never truly know. Bitcoin's about 68,000. You have the Bitcoin gold, about 13.2 ounces of gold. Oil, $91 roughly. Now, I don't think there's any futures trading on the weekend. Maybe Sunday night that opens up. You can go over to some of these shipping tools and you can see that there's you can track some of the ships, worldwide, everywhere. You can see it looks like this guy's going through the strait there. Um, Not who, if it's destination or it looks like maybe Iran somewhere, but you can see there's really not much action going on for having 20% of the world's, you know, oil, maybe even LNG going through there. You can also see the gas prices in the United States. There's a range depending on what state. The West Coast is really expensive. California, $5. Oregon, $4.10. Washington, $4 and almost 55 cents. Where you can go down and see like 296 in Louisiana, $3, a bunch of those states, but on average it's for $3.43. You can see that it fluctuates here. The green line is the current price. 1 year ago is the blue line, 2 years ago the black line, and it can go up pretty quick, from 280 to 330. From here it went from 280 to 323. So in a few months few months you can get it going up pretty quick. Now, if you go to Poly Market, it's saying that there's pretty much a 67% chance that it's going to hit 105, 85% chance that it's going to hit $100. So it looks like, according to the betting market, $1.2 million traded on that. Overall, there's about $9 million traded there. It's usually pretty accurate. So the macroeconomic conditions, Caspa's got a lot of cool development stuff going on, but last time I checked, I'm not even really checking the price that much. It seems like it's hanging around 59 on coin market cap. But the macroeconomic conditions, and now, those can change pretty quick. And if all of a sudden it looks like things in the Middle East are resolved, then markets can flip around really, really big. Then the longs will take over. But right here, it looks like in the short term. Now, this is by the end of March, so there's 85% chance. There's a lot of time left in March. Now you go up, it's in the betting is that the lower prices don't have that high odds. You go up to $120, that's almost a 50-50 chance, $110. So it looks like it's pretty good chance we're going to $100 and a pretty solid chance that we go up to maybe 110. Now, if it's just up there for a little bit, then it's not going to be too much of an issue. When you look at the betting market and the $10 million bet here, that they're basically saying that there's a 32% chance that the U.S. forces enter Iran by the end of this month, or 60% almost for this year at some point. So the longer the conflict drags on, the more pain. Now, you can see that there's the narrative that's been going on in crypto that, Trump, they're going to want to pump the midterms. But you look a lot of years, those midterm economic years usually aren't very good. They usually pump up on the presidential election years, but usually not on the midterm. But that narrative that, oh man, Trump's going to pump the economy as much as he can so they can win the midterms, and they'll probably do everything they can to try to do that, but you don't completely control everything. But right here, there's only been $3.7 million, but they got 85% chance that the Democrats. Hey, thanks for tuning in, Gert2467. At least that's what I see your username as. But the macro is playing that way. Now, this is kind of on a different note, but like, say with AI, you basically, there's more than one maker of the chips, but as far as I see, is the best chips, the Taiwan Semiconductor is the only one making them. And you have the AML is the only one making the machines only maker of the machine for said chips. And then the quartz it's used for the cauldron type thing that you use on the silicon is in Spruce Pine, North Carolina. He's got the world's most pure quartz. The world's semiconductor industry hinges on a single quartz factory in North Carolina. And it just shows how, you have this stretch right here. There's looks like there's a couple ships going through, and maybe they're going to Iran, but it looks like they are. But for the most part, there's not a lot of traffic going through there. The insurance is through the roof. I saw where, some of the insurance maybe is up 12 times, and that is a cost, and people don't want to risk that. They don't want to risk you know, the, you know, the cargo, and they don't want to risk the ship. And if the insurance is too high, it just run up the cost too much. I saw that, some Middle Eastern countries are cutting production at the same time. Trump's touting that Iran is not going to attack other countries if they're not launching attacks from there. But the one guy said that's basically not really that much de-escalation, because if there's lots of U.S. bases in those countries where some form of operation could be, coming from. So we don't know exactly, but it just shows how, black swan events, and it's just weird how like FTX and, it seems like the cycles, there's always something that kind of pops up or comes up, and it's just kind of weird how that works out. But, we are where we are. And, you know, right now on the daily, there's not the crazy amount to pay attention to. On the weekends, you get this low liquidity, so you can get a crash or pump on Bitcoin because most of the big money is not trading. And so you get that low liquidity, and, you could not pay attention to what's going on with the war, or pay attention to it. Not really going to change much, but, uh, that right now is a big indicator just on any economic assets you have, you know, and, if the U.S. government's trying to provide some insurance for these ships, escorts, if the conflict resolves, if it doesn't, most of the people I know think that it's going to go on for a while, but they're just a regular person, and you can go online and it's hard to find out, you know, you get a lot of people that are biased on whatever they're talking about. So somewhere there's the reality of what's going on, and no one truly knows. So that's where we're at. I guess the moral story is that with the macroeconomic conditions, the October bottom is, looks like it makes a lot of sense. And then right when you think everything makes sense, stuff can flip on its head, and what are you going to do? Buy more, sell more, hold your position? It's about all you can do. I mean, and so, yeah, I hope everything gets resolved, but that's big power players. There's things going behind the scenes, and you can dive into conspiracy theories or take everything at surface level. Um, Shows that right now, that so much of the time, the macroeconomic conditions, liquidity is powering so much. If the oil prices stay sustained, everything just gets more expensive. Somewhere they're probably gonna have to print a ton of money, pay for the war, or just the system will start cracking if things get too far out of whack. So we just buckle up, try to ride out the fourth turning the best you can. If you have assets, you're probably ahead of most people. And Caspa's got a lot of cool stuff going on. So if the prices weren't down and people were more excited about it, you wouldn't be able to take a position on that price. Same time, nothing's guaranteed. Caspa's got a rapid admission schedule, so hopefully some of the silver script, vprogs, that type of stuff can start bringing in more revenue for the miners, more Caspa. So that's all I got. Let me know what you think. Have a good weekend.